Hello wonderful humans, and welcome back to another video where I talk about the Wheel of Time, the TV series at the moment. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 6, The Flame of Tarvalon. And just in case you are new here, what I do is I watch the episode and then I just write down stream of conscious style what I was thinking at the end of the episode. And today I have 5 pages of notes, so less than I have for the last couple of episodes. Doesn't mean I enjoyed it any less, it just had less to talk about in particular. Now I have read the first 3 books of Wheel of Time. I'm currently working my way through book 4, so while I talk about things from all 3 of those books, I don't do spoilers for later than that, but also that also means that in the comments I ask that you respect the fact that I have only read the first 3 books and some of the 4th book, so don't give anything away. If I ask a question and it's not something I need to know yet, don't answer it. That's all I ask, and without any more of this introduction, I'm going to get started talking about this episode, The Flame of Tarvalon. And really, this one, way to hit me in the feels right from the start. Swan's backstory, it's a really nice inclusion. I'm really happy to see this. It may be mentioned in one of the books that I haven't read, but I'm really glad that we've got to see a little bit more about her. You hear bits of her story, but this was really lovely. I also think the connection here, linking her with the Two Rivers folk, it's not the life she chose to have, but it's the one she must follow. I think that's a really lovely inclusion and sort of puts her as a potential ally for them, which I think was a really smart comparison that was made there. It's also fantastic to have that come into play with her interaction with Nynaeve and Gwen later in the episode, and that's when we see also during that conversation with Swan, the Merlin seat, Nynaeve and Gwen show a little bit of room in their relationship for the rift that could be on its way. Especially when Gwen looks really proud when she thinks the Merlin seat is saying that she's the strongest channeler they've seen in 1,000 years, until she clarifies and says Nynaeve's name, and you can sort of just see she's like, what is going on right now? There's that first little bit of a sign of that jealousy that really rears its head in the Dragon Reborn book 3. So I think that was a really nice little subtle inclusion there. Moraine healing Matt so easily, it was difficult, but on her own, was surprising. I wasn't expecting that to happen the way that it did. I wonder if she got it all, or if he does touch the dagger again, what is actually going to happen there. They've talked a lot about his inner darkness, so maybe there's something there that they're going to play up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Matt, especially given the fact that episode 7 happened. So I'll talk about that more when I'm doing that episode 7 video, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the TV series sets up Matt's character arc for the Great Hunt, provided they follow the Great Hunt to a certain extent. And on that, I think I have been incredibly impressed how closely they've been following the book while making changes as necessary. But they have followed the book a lot more closely than I anticipated, and I'm really appreciating that. Yes, changes are happening, but they're following it, and it's a joy to watch. I'm really enjoying that. So I think on that, it's really unclear, to me anyway, exactly what happened to the dagger. It looks like the last we see of it, Lan is covering it with a blanket, and then we don't know exactly what happened to it, whether Lan and Moraine take it away or whether they leave it. It seems silly to leave it with Rand and Matt, but I don't know what they did with it. So Matt could very well have access to it still, or a connection that Moraine doesn't know about, so which is why she didn't bring other people in who were more equipped at healing, maybe. Anyway, that I'll be interested to see what happened to the dagger and how that all comes about. Rand's attitude changed really quickly when he saw that Moraine was actually going to help and not hurt Matt. And I think that was also another one of those moments of how temperamental he can be. And I thought that was a really nice touch, but how protective he is of his friends and all of those kind of things. Maybe he's let go of some suspicions of her, maybe a few, because she's helped out. And maybe it'll help Rand in this version of events to trust her a little bit more. And maybe not, who knows. I would have liked to have seen Nynaeve see the healed Matt. I'd like to have seen that actual happen. I know we saw her reaction to hearing that Matt was healed, but I would have liked to have seen her see Matt, or even see the healing, and have to deal with the fact that she'd done the wrong thing. We did see that, and I really did enjoy Moraine telling her to use her wisdom. I thought that was fantastic, but I would have liked to have seen Nynaeve's reactions to those things. But it wasn't a necessary thing, if that makes sense, just something I would have liked to have seen. Mostly because I don't think I can quite get enough of Zoe Robbins on screen. I think she's fantastic, and we didn't have enough of her in this episode. But that's fine, because it was a very Moraine-centric episode. And I wonder if Nynaeve would have gone for help soon anyway, if especially the plants that she'd gathered, she had that basket full of herbs and plants and stuff, if that did nothing, would she have gone to Moraine for help, or would she have let it go too long? That's something I can never quite tell with Nynaeve, and I love that, because she really will not admit that she's wrong, and she will not ask for help. So I wonder how far it would have gone before she'd actually reached out. And I can imagine she probably would have reached out to Lan first, not Moraine, and then Lan would have brought Moraine, and she would have known that. But I wonder how long if Moraine hadn't found it. Just something I'm curious to know. That's how I think anyway. So Moraine lying to Egwene when she tells Egwene that the others hadn't arrived yet. It makes so much sense that she's done that after she realised Nynaeve had kept Matt and Rand from her. If she'd had them all meet up before she was ready for them to, they could have conspired behind her back and then they could have disappeared. They could have escaped. They could have done something stupid and got caught, or got caught up in the politics or anything else. And she had enough to worry about with what she was dealing with in the tower anyway. So I actually think that this is a situation where it makes perfect sense why she would lie to Egwene for her, like, to keep everything under control as much as possible. I really like that Moraine introduced the girls to Swan. She's handing them into her care in a way, and I mean there would have been that curiosity on Swan's behalf to see these girls and what they're capable of, and given what she knew about them potentially being the dragon and all of that kind of stuff, I think it was really nice that Moraine was able to do that and take them and hand them over, even though she takes them away with her. But it's that almost little bit of a, if something happens to me, this is who they are and this is what they look like, and this is what they're capable of, and this is what Nynaeve is really like, because she was fun to watch in that scene, just how she tries. She's got this bravado. It's just fantastic. I love it. Anyway, it appears that only Egwene saving the rings is why she's actually present in the room. I mean, I don't think that's exactly why she's in the room, because she's still a dragon candidate because of the age. I'd say if it had been possible and safe, Swan would have wanted to see all 5 of the villagers, not just the 2 girls, but there's no reason for the boys to have been in her presence without raising suspicion, so that makes sense as well. Especially given that Leandrin already knows about their presence, which acted as a really good reminder that they're not safe, and that Moraine is doing what she can to protect them, but not everything's in her control, especially if they don't tell her that they're there. I'm assuming that if Egwene and Perrin had managed to find her before needing to go find the healers, then she would have kept them secret and brought someone in to heal, but kept it a secret. Maybe, probably not, considering Leandrin did know about the others. Tavalon, it's just not a place to keep secrets, obviously. Back to Tia for a moment. I hadn't pictured it the way that we've had it portrayed. It's more of a tropical environment than I imagined, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I think I'd just imagined something muddy, and I know they talk about that. So I'd pictured something more like a medieval European town or village. The areas that we see anyway, muddy and dirty and nothing at all like what we actually got. There's still lots of potential for mud and stuff in this scene, but it's a much more it's got the feel, a little bit of a feel of Egypt in a way, with the delta, which isn't tropical as such, but it's got a different vibe to the place than what I anticipated. Even though it was only a short scene and we didn't see the city or any of that, it was different to what I expected, and I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to seeing that culture when we get there. Probably not till season 3 if they follow the books closely, but you never know what direction they'll go in for that. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of it though. And the secret meeting place for Moraine and Swan, a place that is so far removed from the tower and formality and everything else. It's a perfect place for them, and for them to be equals, but also to be away from prying eyes. And I think that was a really sweet scene. And their relationship just makes sense to me. I actually look back and go, I know that that's an addition. I know that that's not, well, I believe, I'm fairly certain that's not what happens in the books, but it fits. And I wouldn't have been surprised if it was in the books, because it just fits. And time period when the books were written, it's not the kind of relationship you would have seen in a fantasy series at that time when Robert Jordan first started writing. And I think if he was writing now, he would have included relationships, different kinds of diverse relationships. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of what the TV show is able to bring in to make it more culturally aware, gender and sexuality aware. I think it's really great what they're doing there, and I think it makes sense. Like, it doesn't change, in my opinion, having read the first 3 books, I don't think it changes the story in a significant way to have them be in a relationship of some kind, whatever that may mean. But it did make me raise a question here, just in general. Are we not getting Varen? Is Varen not going to be in the books or in the TV series? Or is it just that we haven't met her yet? Because she doesn't appear until the Great Hunt book anyway. So maybe she just hasn't made an appearance yet, and maybe we'll get to see her soon. But I hope that we get Varen. I like Varen. I liked the picture frame portal. I thought that was really cool. Nice thing to sort of use. I do ask, I'd like to know, could Moraine take it with her? Is it portable? Or is and then use it at other times? And then obviously not, because otherwise she would have done that already. But it just sort of, it got me thinking, what kind of, is the picture the portal, or is the picture a symbol? I'm assuming it's a portal, but it might not be. Who knows? Because you would assume that she could have taken it with her, unless it's just entwined in the magic of the tower. Anyway, just thoughts that I had. Lan knowing where Moraine was headed was actually super cute. I figured there had to be a way to shut down the bond temporarily, and so that was nice to see that confirmed. I also just really love seeing Moraine and Lan's dynamic and clear, friendly chemistry. I think it's a beautiful relationship, and I'm liking seeing that develop and, well, it unfold, I suppose. It's something just I'm really enjoying watching. I think it's beautiful to watch on screen, and I'm looking forward to more of Lan and Moraine and their adventures in working out their future paths. So I'm really enjoying that. And I'm also really enjoying the way they're setting up the power play in Tar Valon. Sophie Okonedo is oh, she's just incredible. Seriously, the casting in this show is brilliant. I cannot, I really don't think I've seen anyone yet who I think is badly cast. I know there's the casting stuff with Matt and Barney Harris, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that is handled. I wonder if that's why episode 7 happens the way that it does. I'll find out in episode 8, like everyone else. Anyway, I understand that there's concern there and stuff, and that's fine. But I think the casting has been spot on. Everything, every cast member has been incredible, and has really brought out the elements that make that character that character. So I'm looking forward to, again, seeing more of that casting, because they've obviously got the right casting director or directors. The casting team, they're doing a really great job. So congrats to them. I really like how Sophie Okonedo is showing both strength and vulnerability during her scenes, especially during those audience scenes, being able to convey so much through really minute facial expressions. Both her and Rosamund Pike are incredible to watch in their clear control of what they are doing. They are in control. They know, I'm not necessarily talking about Moraine and Swan in this sense. The actors are so aware of what they're doing. They're so in control. It's an art. They show how good acting is done. Anyway, I don't really have anything more to offer on their acting. It's just, I could talk about it and just keep saying the same thing. The audience here pushed Alana back into the background, back behind Leandrin and Moraine's actions, which makes sense given she didn't do much more than react and join in when needed in the battle. They're also setting Leandrin up as a challenge to the Amerlin siege, setting her sights on Tar Valon, which I think is interesting as well, given what I expect to happen in the next season. And it seems to be some of what I have seen, knowing that I haven't seen a whole lot of it yet. It's only just starting to come up now, but some of what Aleida would have been doing if she was present in these scenes. So she's almost filling that gap that was missing. And I'm still expecting Aleida to show up in season 2. But again, I don't know how important a role she is in the big scheme of things as of yet. I think she's a role that needs to be filled. But you never know. Who knows? Varen and Aleida, I'll be curious to know. Maybe they've already been cast and I just haven't seen. As I do actively avoid news at the moment. I'm looking forward to getting back into that next week. But I actively avoid news, so I do miss a lot of casting announcements. So I'll be interested to see who is cast. Also, Swan has been to Camelin, which is interesting. So maybe she's been there partially to meet Elaine and to set up with Morghese, Queen Morghese, for Elaine's time in the tower. Maybe that's part of what she was there for. Maybe she was there for other reasons as well. Who knows? I don't know why the Amerlin seat in this TV world would go out and about, because I don't think she really does in, or not very much in the books. So that's a big deal when she goes to Valdara. Yeah, I'm interested to know, because they've mentioned that she was in Camelin, so I wonder if we'll find out why she was in Camelin and what that all means. I love looking back and realising all the looks from Moraine in their first assembly are not just stress and worry about her future, although that is definitely a part of it, but also it's her taking in Swan for the first time in years, given their relationship. And I appreciate, on top of that, that Swan having Legaine's chains removed. It shows both how safe the tower is. It's not really that safe, but also could be taken as compassion, feeling for him that he's not in any danger. and so why would we treat him that way? But really what it's showing is this strength and power. Like, we don't need to worry about you, we're all more powerful than you. So it's sort of, there's all those layers to that whole unchaining Logain, and it's humane to unchain him, but there's so much more behind it, and I think that was really, really great. Logain may have been speaking that way to get a death sentence, but it's also helped Leandrin's cause, as Swan looks like she doesn't care about Crene's death. So that's just a really interesting thing that they're sort of pushing this storyline, I think, and earlier than, because I'm only just starting to get to a lot of that Aes Sedai politics, not just the Black Archer stuff, but the politics as they come in, I think book 4. I think there's hints of it in book 3, but book 4 is really when it's starting to bubble up. Alvaro Morte is absolutely awesome as Logain, and I really hope we haven't seen the last of him. I just think he's brilliant and such a different take. I don't really have a picture of Logain from the books. I don't know enough about him in the books to be able to picture what he's like. And so I'm really loving what I'm seeing and how that's been developed. And I think some of it is been added, or at least it's sort of backstory that we hear about. I don't know, I just think it's really, really nice. So I hope we haven't seen the last of him and that he's got more to do later. And I don't know what that could look like, but I'll be interested to see how that plays out. And is Megain a new character? The blue, the head of the blue Aja, is she a new character or one I haven't met yet? I honestly don't know. This is one of the challenges, not having read at least New Spring, because I think some of these characters might be from New Spring, and maybe later books she pops up, but I just don't know who she is. So is she new? Will I meet her in the future? Anyway, I like the ceremony and the rituals through both of the assemblies. There's a distinct difference between all of them in and out of the hall, the Aes Sedai. The official role takes over and they're all connected to history through rituals and ceremonies. And I think that's really nice. And there's a lot of symbolism to that sort of wheel going on as well. It's really just really cool. When they all turn their backs on Moraine, that was probably the most gut-wrenching moment of the episode. Or on top of that, young Swan leaving her home earlier, which made me, when I started writing that, I then said, but wasn't in the books, her father was abusive, wasn't he? And so she was getting, like, she was turned out by an abusive father. But I actually thought this was much nicer. She wanted to be home but couldn't, and oh, it's lovely. He was a lovely, lovely father. I like that we get so many really nice father figures in the Wheel of Time books, and I'm enjoying that we're seeing some in the series as well. Also, just a little thing that happened as they're leaving after the first assembly. Leandrin, Alana and Moraine are leaving, and Alana walks out, and one of her warders, Maxon, gives her some food. I think it was a fig or something like that. And if that isn't just the perfect relationship, I don't know what is, because they obviously know each other so well. He knows that will calm her, comfort her. She knew that he had it there. I just thought it was just one of those really special little moments of a warder knowing her needs. Oh, it was beautiful. And I like that we're just seeing Alana eating all the time, just taking great pleasure out of this fruit that she's enjoying, because I think the last episode we saw her eating a persimmon, and oh, it's nice. It's a nice little touch there. Leandrin is growing in confidence back in the tower, no longer playing even a little bit nice with Moraine, not even what she wasn't playing nice before, but she was pretending to at times. Her mannerisms have changed somewhat too. She's holding herself still and proud and strong, and which is quite different to when she's talking to Nynaeve. She often she swings her body, she holds herself in a different way, which makes her look less threatening and more childlike in a way. So she's trying to put herself on Nynaeve's level a little bit. So it's quite different, and I think that's Kate Fleetwood, and the choices there are really interesting to watch how she is trying, however successfully it's happening, she's trying to manipulate all these things, and she's obviously having some success if she's bringing people onto her side. So it helps, I think, explain I'm not trying to talk around things that are spoilers, but it helps try and explain how she's able to get people to join the Black Archer, I suppose. Or I'm assuming she does a bit of the recruiting, but it makes sense. You're seeing her able to put on these different versions of herself, and it's really cool. And also there's that implication, there was a little statement, I think Leandra had said something, which implies that she and Moraine used to be friends. So I'll be interested to see, I'm guessing we're going to get some of their backstory at some point. I'd like to actually see them as young little Aes Sedai, learning and see some of that dynamic. I think that would be a really nice inclusion to sort of see how that all worked, how they all worked together, how they were friends and what happened. Anyway, another Moraine bath / sauna type scene. I thought that's interesting. She really does like to be clean. And obviously she's getting ready for the evening. Nothing more to comment on that. It was a good scene. We're seeing a few of Moraine doing that though, so it's that I suppose it has connections to her not often being able to stop and trust enough to have a bath or strip off for the sauna or any of that kind of stuff. Also that the fact that she's a lady, the fact that she's a lady from Cowhine, which hasn't come up in the books as much yet. I think it's been mentioned, but not a big deal. And so there's that kind of stuff as well. She does like to be clean. She likes to be anyway. Fair enough too, if she's been on the road for 2 years. Fair enough. I don't know why I decided to focus in on that scene when I didn't even talk about anything that happened in it, but you know, there you go. Also, I have more insight into the Blue Aja than I do so far in the books. It seems that they're a spy network, which makes sense when I think about what Moraine does. I was never 100% sure how much of that was just Moraine having her own little spy network and how much of it was her being of the Blue Aja. Still don't know, but I think that makes sense to me. I think all I know so far in the book is that they do their special projects or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what I can remember about what the Blue Aja is, because they've talked around it a lot and haven't really laid it out straight what the Blue Aja does, as far as I can remember in the books so far. Egwene's news about Perrin's eyes and not helping Moraine, that news is not helping Moraine figure out who the dragon is. I really like that Moraine mentions there's a Gleeman with a story of a dragon with 5 heads. And just on a side note, I was talking to Mum again after she watched it, and she thinks that they're all different parts, if not different parts of the dragon, different parts of the prophecy or different parts of the plan, and if they're not all together, then they won't succeed. And I think that's that idea though of a dragon with 5 heads, the dragon's soul being split into 5. It is a cool idea, and it's definitely helping with that whole mystery kind of thing. It's a cool insight, allowing more mystery, and it's also allowing for, when the reveal does happen, for there still to be room for more doubt to happen in the following episode as well. So I think it's nice, but I thought it was a cool little inclusion. It's also really nice to see Moraine let down her guard with Swan, and obviously she's nervous and excited to see her again. I really enjoyed the theme, the soundtrack playing in the background during the scene between Moraine and Swan in their river hut, and how it was the same kind of music or a variation of it from the opening scene of Swan with her father, and then it's repeated again during when Moraine is exiled, and I just think that's the kind of thing that's really, the music is doing an incredible job of tying these things together and looping them, and it's just really beautiful. Beautiful. She's also allowing all her vulnerability and fear and uncertainty to come to the surface in this scene, and that's not something we've really seen. We've seen elements of these things from Moraine, but this, she really lets it go, and it's really nice to see that she has someone that she can just be with herself. Doesn't have to play the game, she's just being herself. I would like to know more of Moraine's threat to Leandrin, about the man she visits, about who Leandrin visits. Who is it? Obviously not someone Moraine thinks is a dark friend, may not have even crossed her mind. Leandrin's also focused more on Nynaeve than the others, but knows who they all are now. And did she already know? Like, that goes back to the question of when Dana in episode 3 had that vision and had seen all 5 of their faces. Has Leandrin seen all 5 of their faces and has now put their names to the faces? That I'm interested to sort of suss a little bit more out about that. But she has no idea, so she thinks she knows a lot of what's going on and is trying to tell Moraine, I know more than what you think. But she still has no idea about Swan and Moraine's closeness. So they've obviously done a really great job of keeping that under wraps. So good job, girls. Good job. Moraine's exile, her oath, and the way she twisted it. So it's not a promise to the Merlin seat, but it's a promise to Swan. I think was really, really incredible. I think this was probably my favourite scene in the episode. So emotional between them, so much going on, so many undercurrents at play as well. Moraine absolutely looks devastated and lost, absolutely lost. And I think that was just, because even if that's what she chose, she was still feeling all those feelings, and oh, it's beautiful. Rosamund Pike continues to blow me away every scene that she does. I just think she's Moraine. She's doing it in a way that is allowing that warmth that may at times have been missing in the books, without it getting in the way of her needing to do what she needs to do. So much that I could say about Rosamund Pike. She's awesome. I am really looking forward to the audiobook voiced by her. I don't think it's come out yet. I think that'll be a nice way to listen to it, but I do want to listen to the original as well. Maybe I'll listen to both. And Swan being able to watch her go, I thought that was actually a really, really beautifully difficult. It was beautiful and so lucky for them that everyone, as part of the ceremony of exile, the ritual, they had to turn their backs on Moraine, which meant that Swan was able to watch her and feel those emotions while no one else was watching her. And I think that was a really, really special thing that they were able to not share, but it was a moment that Moraine could know and Swan could just feel what she needed to feel without anyone being able to see it. I think, yeah, very important. The final blow, of course, though, is when Alana turns around. And Priyanka Boss's face as she turned was this beautiful reaction, showing how much she hates this without sort of overdoing it or anything, how much she hates it, but that she has to do it. She's got to do what she's got to do as part of the Aes Sedai. But you can just see in her face her expression was just fantastic. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch that. Just that moment where, like, before Alana turns around, because it was really, really nice to watch. And how lonely for Moraine to leave Tar Valon, not knowing if or when she'd ever return, and not even having Lan there as a companion. So she is leaving on her own. This is a journey that she is going on without anyone else. I know she meets up with them, but it was just, she needed to do that on her own, I think, and I think she knew that as well, and that's why she sent Lan off with the others and didn't meet them somewhere that they met elsewhere. I really loved the reunion between them all. I thought that was really nice to see them together again, the villagers, and quickly shows that they kind of know what happens to each other, so they don't need to talk about it, and they don't need that moment of oh, what have you been doing? All that kind of stuff. They get straight to the point. Oh, what have you done? Oh, here you had a dagger, or a poison dagger or something like that. So they knew at least the highlights of what's happened to each other. So it was good. They keep getting rid of the horses, which, going back to, I think, I really do think that Bella is gone, and how dare they? Anyway, not going there. Where's all the stuff? Like, they've got to have a few more bits and pieces, don't they? I suppose they think that they're going to their death. Based on what we know, that they don't really know. So maybe they think that they don't need much, but they're not even taking a pack horse. I know in the books that they took the horses through the ways, and that was fine. The design of this one, I can understand why they're not taking them, and that's just an extra thing they would have to worry about then. But it doesn't look like they've got much in the way of food or supplies or anything, so they're very badly prepared. Anyway, I'm sure that they've all got some sort of bag on their back, so they've obviously got some food or some things with them to help them out. The waygate is not as described. We knew that already though, because it's been in a lot of the promotional material. I think it looks great, so it was nice to see it in action, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Interesting that Moraine takes the time to explain what's next, because time and time again in the books she withheld information from them, and she's still not telling it all to them, obviously, but she's giving them what they need to know, because she I liked oh no, that happens in the next episode, so I won't talk about that, but just that they're giving them the quoting Lan in the next episode, the semblance of choice, even if they don't really have a choice. But she's explaining things so that they actually do know, even if they're not getting the full picture. That also could be linked with the fact that she referred to them, talking to Lan. She said, Lan, you need to protect our friends from the village, or from the Two Rivers. And instead of using a word like our charges from the Two Rivers, or implying that they're looking after them, I know it was a choice that she used, but she did, it showed a little bit of care for them, I suppose, maybe. Maybe she just didn't mean that, and she's just using the word friends. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And realising how stubborn they all are and prone to do stupid things without all the information as well. So I think she's learnt that. I think she's learnt that it's probably better to give them enough information so that they make the decision she wants them to make, or needs them to make. Anyway. So the big question here at the end of this episode is, did Matt end up going through the gate with them, or did someone go back for him? What a way to end the episode. Matt's just gone, and that's, wow. Like, bye Matt. I guess, yeah, at the end of the episode, it looks very much like either someone's tried to get back to him, but it's shut off. There's no way that he was getting through that waygate as it was closing. So wow. Interesting. The ways looks suitably ruined and ominous. Makes sense that Gwen is the first villager to walk through the gate. That is a logical choice. And heading to the Eye of the World, which is the Dark One's prison now, which I think is, yeah, okay, that's a choice. I can see why that would be what they would do. I can actually see why they would go and try and take out the Dark One while he's weak. That makes sense, doesn't it? And I guess that makes more sense than the somewhat random decision or the random information that pops up really late in the Eye of the World. I think the pacing in the Eye of the World was a little bit odd as a book anyway, because the idea of going to the Eye of the World doesn't pop up until they rejoin each other in Camlin, which happens quite late in the book. And so it makes a little bit more sense that this is where they'd be going and why they'd be going there. The dreams haven't been informing them like they do in the books. The Dark One or Baalzamon haven't been talking to them in their dreams, so there was nothing to redirect them to the eye of the world other than this idea of going to take out the Dark One. And so I guess this means we aren't getting our random green man. I completely support this decision, if this is the case. I mean, if the green man does make an appearance in the future, I won't object, but I support the decision not to include the green man. How do you feel about it? I think it's a choice that makes a lot of sense. And last couple of questions, I suppose, which I have just heading into the next episode. So where's the dagger at? Will Matt follow them, or will they be split up for some time? And how long till Fane is revealed? He must be popping up soon. So much I'm looking forward to finding out, just in general. And just concluding thoughts here. This was a really good episode. A very Moraine heavy story, and I'll be interested to see if the focus shifts a little bit away from Moraine once the dragon has been revealed, because I think they needed to play up Moraine's significance in the story to keep the mystery alive. They couldn't focus too much on any of the villagers because we would have figured it out earlier. And this episode, I suppose, the last thing I said is not as much wow factor as some of the other episodes, but it's still really enjoyable. This was a really great episode to move the story forward. It wasn't one of those episodes that gripped me in an overly emotional manner, but it was beautiful to watch. So many important things happened and so much going on, and I really enjoyed it. I can't complain. Like, I don't think there was anything going on in this episode that upset me in the slightest. I don't think anything's really upset me in the whole series, other than maybe Egwene's braid and Perrin's wife. They may upset me still. And Bella, that is upsetting me, clearly. I can't let it go. Anyway, I'd love to know what you thought of this episode, just in general. I thought it was great that we got to see Tar Valon and the culture there in somewhat more. Really, one scene that sticks with me is Moraine sitting there drinking tea. Just the visuals of that scene were really, really lovely. So there were some of those kind of scenes along the way. Let me know if you had any favourites. Let me know if you had any concerns or anything. And what are you looking forward to going forward? I have watched episode 7. I will get on filming that and have that hopefully up to tomorrow. If not, it'll be the day after, just depending on, I think tomorrow looks okay for me to get it up. So that's my plan. And then I expect to be watching the final episode of this season and have that episode up pretty quickly. If not on Christmas Eve, it'll be on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. So you'll get that. And then I can focus on the books. So that's my plans. I hope you're having a really great lead up to Christmas, and I will catch you with the next video fairly soon. Okay, bye.